It feels like the creators of Bel Air don't know if they want to make Carlton a sympathetic character or the antagonist and the villain of this. Because they keep making these wild swings, some of the choices they make in this episode are a little hard to swallow. But I'm leaving my thoughts and reactions to the latest episode of Bel Air called The Strength to Smile right after the jump. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. Sixth episode of Bel Air. This one's a bit of a meal. There's a lot happening in this episode. A lot of story threads. Get a small amount of time to do a lot of leg work. But we start off with Will kind of getting the ramifications of what Trey did and going back home and just putting Will on blast. He's getting hit every which way on social media about how much of a traitor and sellout that he is. There's one particular, I don't know why it took me out. He's looking at his text messages or his Instagram and it's like, yo, he's always had bad breath, no cap. Man, I don't know why that just it's like that's rough. That one hit hard, but he's taking it hard. He's locked himself in his room. He just doesn't want to be around anybody. Viv and Uncle Phil come to check on him while they have a bunch of things going on. They are trying to do a fundraiser dinner for Lisa in honor of Lisa's mom, who Aunt Viv is super close to apparently. They come to check on Will, and Will's not having it. He don't want to hear nothing about them. He kind of demonstratively runs away, says, I don't want to talk to you, and ends up like breaking something that's very important to Viv in the house. And then Uncle Phil pulls him aside and they have a heart to heart. In that heart to heart, I think Uncle Phil says probably one of the best things that he said in the series, and something that I think everybody just in life in general needs to go hear and go through. He tells Will that I know you're going through something. I know you're going through something, and it's hard. And for you, it's the biggest thing in the world. But you got to realize that everyone is going through something. And once you realize that everybody's got to go through something, it will make your world feel less like everything's on your shoulders. And Will kind of calms down a bit and agrees to help out and do what he can to pitch in to help out at Lisa's fundraiser. In this story, this is one of those stories where everything sort of takes place at one central location. Everyone comes in and out because the Uncle Phil, the Banks' mansion is the ground zero for this episode. Because this is where the fundraiser is going to be. So they're all prepping and getting things together. And while that's happening, life is just sort of weaving in and out for them. Some of the key points that we learned is that Aunt Viv and Lisa's mom were super close. And in that, Lisa's dad does not seem to be as much attached to the memory of this. And it kind of comes to these things in habit where it means a lot to Lisa. Lisa's dad has also taken on a new wife and gotten her pregnant, and Aunt Viv ain't rocking with old girl. They just don't get along because her alliances and allegiance go to Lisa's mom. Lisa's really broken up. This is the day that she wants to remember her mom, and she's got this looming thing where she's not really rocking with her dad on this day or his new piece. So she comes to the Banks' place and kind of just trying to get set up, go through the rehearsals and everything, go through the rehearsals with Carlton, who is excited to sort of help out with the poem. He's pretty much written the entire thing. And Lisa's like, yo, this ain't my words. I don't want to say this stuff like this. And they kind of have a little falling out. She's like, this don't feel like me. I want to say my words. And it feels like everyone in this is trying to do everything to sort of stifle her feelings. Being somebody who has lost someone to a disease and kind of just don't you feel lost in life. I understand like this. I understand everything about Lisa in this episode. You try to go through smiling, but it's tough. It's hard. It's a difficult road. She also starts to notice as again Will keeps giving her that cold shoulder. So she actually checks Will on this one. Like, hey, what is going on? And Carl, he doesn't give up so much that Carlton has put him in this position, but he does say like, yo, I thought you were going through it today, and I wanted to give you your space. And they kind of go for a tit for tat. He said, well, you got Carlton. You don't need me. And she's kind of just like, well, you know what? I don't need you at all. Just stay away from me. What we do see later, though, is that they have a talk outside on the terrace, and she's like, Carlton, I can't be there for Carlton. Carlton feels like he needs me, and be pitiful so that his pity and his what he's going through doesn't seem so bad. I feel like I am more of a tool for him than I am actually friends, where I feel like I have that friendship with you, um, and I can be there. You can be there for me. While they're going through that, you know what? Carlton's being Batman in the corner up at the top and watching everything. He just sees it, and obviously he's not gonna take that well. This is a really full episode. There's so many like small storylines that are happening. Hillary is having an issue with her new house. She can't seem to make content there because the black jackass boys, whatever the hell you call them, come in and kind of disrupt that. And she has this time clock that her boss at this new Instagram or influencer house is saying like, yo, you gotta make content consistently. If you don't, we're under the gun. And she's about to make her content, but then her family needs her. And there's a family emergency because the cooks and whatnot that were going to be at Lisa's fundraiser drop out. And so so Hillary has to get over there and help out. And she does it, drops at the drop of a dime, without question. She gets over there, starts making her stuff. And she's like, yo, I can start recording what I'm doing here. And the head guy at the influencer house is like, no, that ain't gonna be enough. You gotta do something big, bold, different. You can't keep doing the same thing or you're gonna lose that time. And he keeps just sending her checks and doing this little time clock, like, hey, where's that at? Where's that at? So she's under the gun for that. We also have an Ashley situation where her girl and the guy that also was feeling her, she's like, no, I don't really want him. They come by and she's head over heels. But immediately you can see that young lady has a crush on Will, and Will's oblivious that Will doesn't know. But you can see that this isn't going to go well for Ash, and as the show goes along, she reveals that, yeah, I do have a thing for your cousin. Ash never gets to the point where she admits her feelings for her friend, but she kind of just feels crushed and lets it go. She has another one of those wonderful heart-to-heart moments with Hillary. And Hillary's like, yo, you want me to go knock her out? Having her back. But Hillary's there for her in her first moment of heartbreak. And it's good to know. It's good to see that even when Hillary is going through so much and having to do something and is like under the gun, she still has time to take care of her little sister. Like, that's still her concern, even if she doesn't live there. And she asks, like, do you want me to still stay here? Do you want me to, like, help you out? And Ash's like, no, you gotta go be a queen. Go do your thing. I'm gonna be all right. You go handle your business. So that's their moment. Viv has two key moments in this. One, while Will is talking to Lisa's stepmom, Will kind of gets in the information that she was in the picture before Lisa's mom had passed. And Viv sort of overhears that. And she's not feeling the old girl. She's feeling the old girl even less. And the old girl wants to actually say something at this fundraiser. She wants to be like this big call to arms, say, hey, I am an ally with you, Lisa. Please accept me in. And she wants to sort of make it about her so that she kind of feels more in with all these people who are like, that's the side piece, or that's the trophy wife that he's gotten afterwards. And Viv's not having that. So much so, in fact, that after Lisa goes and does this wonderful poem with Will later in the show, she gets called to the coals, raked across those coals, and Viv goes full Philly on her. It's like, no, you're not going up there, and I need you to get the hell out of my house and take your boy with you. And Lisa chooses to stay with the Bankses instead of going with her father and her stepmom. That's how much she does not feel what is happening in that household, which is it's a fascinating sort of tale that Lisa feels more comfortable with the Banks than she does with them. Michael Ealy shows up being all Michael Ealy and art house, but we know what he's really trying to get into. But he's in a separate room. He breaks off the party and goes and looks at the painting that Viv has, but is not ready to sort of put out. And he sort of coaxes her into like, hey, you should put this out. And there's a bet like, hey, if you put this out and it makes $15, you got to put it up in my place. It seems very much like, yes, he is in for the art, he wants that, but it's also to drive something because he feels when she's in that mode, that art mode, she's more inclined to be around him and be with him. And this is the first time that Uncle Phil sort of sees him and hits an eye of what's sort of happening, and he's in full Hawk mode. Like, nah, I can't let this dude be around. And they have a jockeying of masculinity that happens around Aunt Viv to the point where Uncle Phil's like, we gotta watch this too. In the buyers, because it's a silent auction. So people go around and put their names on this list and put anonymous. Sometimes they put their name, but they put anonymous in dollar amount. Uncle Phil sees that Reed puts on the clipboard anonymous and 15,000. Like he takes it up to that. He doesn't really know the bet, but he sees that this guy's trying to do something, and he puts an anonymous bet to kind of one up it and kind of keep control of the painting. But what we can see is that Uncle Phil is more intrigued and interested in shutting Reed down than he is in supporting Aunt Viv and her ability to make art. And what we hear a lot in this party is there are a lot of people who are saying, "Hey, you can be a housewife and a mom and still pursue your career." And it seems like whatever happened, there was a conversation that Uncle Phil basically stifled Aunt Viv. And we're going to get that. That's going to come to a head in this series. Uncle Phil is being supportive of Aunt Viv in this episode, but he's kind of lurking in the shadows. And he has Jeffrey out there doing bad men stuff. He's out there putting in that work, going on full on CIA. And Jeffrey gives Uncle Phil the heads up that, you're losing points, you're losing status or ranking in the search for being head DA. And it's because what we find out is that Jeffrey has given him the information that Lisa's dad has entered the race. And that is sort of leveling the playing field, and people are having to choose a side between the two of them. People who are, and I guess Uncle Phil and Lisa's dad have been close friends up to this point. But basically, Uncle Phil has drawn that line in the sand with the defund the police thing, and sort of this is what has happened. So, in addition to Aunt Viv saying, "Hey, yo, get this dude off my property," and Uncle Phil's like, "Yeah, you need to leave too. Yeah, you get the hell out," and have a little bit of a moment where Uncle Phil and him are standing side by side, and Jeffrey just comes in and the thing is like full on. I'm gonna break you if you get any closer to Uncle Phil and do anything. And these two, it's clear that there is I've been your muscle and your right hand person for all this time. And a great back and forth with Phil and Jeffrey. Uncle Phil was like, "Hey, yo, I need you to watch Fred." He said, "I'm already on it." He said, "Oh, then something else has come up. There's this dude, Reed." Jeffrey said, "No, don't worry about it. I'm already on that too." And Uncle Phil was like, "My man." You give him that Denzel, my man, type of thing. It just shows you that they don't have to always communicate, but just with head nods and looks, they kind of know what each other is sort of going through. The big come to Jesus moment in this, while all of this is going on, is the Carlton stuff. Like I said earlier, Carlton overheard Lisa and Will talking and kind of felt like he wasn't needed or necessary for all of this. So while Lisa is about to go do her poem where she needs that person to be right there with her, she can't be found. And so Will goes to go search through the house for him and looking for him and finds him. You know what he's doing? You know what he's doing. He's getting that sniff on. He's getting sad, Carlton. Oh, they don't like me. Take Xanax now. It's an interesting play because they do a good job. I think the scene is done really well in that Carlton feels like Will again is taking something from him, and Will is like, "Yo, dude, I'm not here for that." And Will has been really kind to this person after so much hate has been thrown this way. And Will sort of just, after this huge breakdown, you can see Carlton is on that edge. Will just sits there, gets on the bed with him and hugs him. And Carlton cries into Will and is like, don't worry about it. I'll go down there and you can't do this. So he puts him to bed. And it's a show of trying to make Carlton some type of human. The issue is, I don't think that's been earned. Like, he's done so much hateful stuff to Will, and Will has been kind to him, that this swing of going back and forth of trying to make Carlton sympathetic, it's going to be a moot point, because in the very next episode, he's going to start hating that Will and Lisa are kissing and being a couple again. So it's hard to take all of this in and care about that moment, even though it is so heartfelt and well done, and Will is killing it in that scene. I don't care enough about Carlton to give a damn about him crying on his arms. But Will does the poem with Lisa, and they have a moment, and Carlton sees it all from the overhead, and he's sad, but he brought this on himself. Fred asked about why Carlton wasn't doing the poem with Lisa, and Will was. Fred ain't really feeling Will, and Will completely shoots in like, hey, yo, he wasn't feeling well, so he had to take a nap. He's covering for him because he cares about his cousin. But Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil kind of already know like something else is up. So what we see later is that Uncle Phil has a heart to heart with Carlton. He's just like, hey, are you okay? Carlton seems like he thinks that Will may have dropped a dime on him about him doing drugs, but and Uncle Phil is aware of something being on, but it's not the drug part of it. It's more just that Carlton suffers from anxiety. Like he gets that, and he gets that the world is on his shoulders. And he's like, hey, yo, I'm here for you if you want to talk. That's when he lets him know about what he's going through. It's again, this is very much an episode where the family and Uncle Phil are all sort of putting out there that we all have something going on, and as a family, we need to be able to deal with this and go back and forth with this so that we are not all suffering. Because if you do it in silence, it's gonna eat at you, and so that is what the premise of this episode is. What we get to finish off this episode is a wild swing because in that Hillary need to come up with something new to do all of this. For her cooking channel, she decides to cook in lingerie, which is never really practical. If you're cooking anything that pops or grease, that's going to be uncomfortable. But she is on her camera, set up and everything in lingerie. Something that, yes, she can rock it, and I think she is woman enough to do so. But I don't know if she's quite understands the ramifications of doing so, because then she's going to have to keep one upping this. It becomes this. I'm chasing that viral click, and to do so, I'm going to have to do more and more and more wild stuff to keep that audience, to keep that number going up to the point where she may have to be implied new. Like, who knows where this is going, but it's going down a road that is not going to work out, I think, too well for Hillary or for Uncle Phil and his campaign. Having your daughter, having your daughter be, one of your daughters be on this sexual spectrum, not a problem, but it's going to be used, probably could be used against him. Not Viv out here doing her best life to be like, hey, I kind of dig this Reed dude. And who played her? It's Michael Ealy with green eyes. Yeah, I get it. You got Carlton sniffing drugs all the time. You got Will coming from a less well-to-do area with gun charges and whatnot, and now you got your daughter, your other daughter, out here on the web, half naked cooking. There's a lot of things that are going to be torpedoing Uncle Phil's campaign, and so this Hillary thing is going to be both a problem for her because I don't think she's going to be able to keep up with what it is she's expected to do, and I think it's going to undermine Uncle Phil's thing. So what's interesting, like this is a really good episode. There's a lot of balls being juggled in the air, and we got a lot of things circling around that campaign of Uncle Phil, Aunt Viv with Reed, and this Will Carlton dynamic that keeps going back and forth, and then you sprinkle in Hillary. A lot of moving pieces that are coming together quite well. I just still think that they need to make a decision on Carlton. The sooner they do that, the sooner I think this show as a whole will be better for it. Either make them sympathetic and let's stop this back and forth because there's enough other things that are happening in this show that I don't need Carlton to be Will's foil. Like there's so many other things that are happening that just have them get along and then deal with all the other random stuff that is happening. But those are my thoughts on this episode, The Strength to Smile. What did you guys think about it? Go ahead and leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. How do you guys feel about Carlton now? I know there's a lot of hate about for that character, but I'm curious to see where you guys stand. Did you feel bad for him in this episode, or are you still like, I don't care, cry me a river? Again, leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDid@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name. It's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any other place podcast. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.